Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the Spark 6.8 release. My name is Emily McCarty, and I'm a Customer Success Associate here at Spark. And I'll be running through the new changes and updates we've made to the platform. And then Eric Mao has joined me, and he will be running through the demonstration portion of this presentation. So let's get started. So on the agenda today, as I mentioned previously, we'll go through what's new, what's been changed, what's been fixed, and then the demonstration. And if you have any follow-up questions, we'll be more than happy to answer those as well. And as you can see, our release is going to be this Saturday. So when you come in on Monday, you'll have a fresh new Spark ready to go. So now as we run through what's new, one of the first big improvements is what we call two-factor authentication, which is a security improvement. And basically what that means is that you have the option of adding an extra password to your platform. So instead of just logging in and clicking your username and password, you can have a verification code sent to either your phone via text message, or you can have it sent to your email, and then you'll be able to verify that you are indeed the person who's logging in. And it's just an extra step of protection to keep your data safe and secure on the Spark platform. If you're looking to enable this feature, you can do it for all users, or you can just do it for your own personal account, and we'll be more than happy to help you with that on the support line. We also have some new automation, which you all should be very excited about, because this is related to our conditions and covenants. So as you can see, if you have a specific, let's say, lease on a loan package and you want to have an automatic condition and covenant appear for that lease, we can now create that using our Spark strategies that we use for our document creation. So that same logic is used on the back end of Spark, and this should help you save some time and energy. Instead of having to manually enter in all those conditions and covenants, we can automatically program those to appear in Spark, which is going to be very convenient, especially for those commitment letters and things that are a little more labor intensive. So we're hoping this is a pretty good improvement for you all. We are also adding some new LGBTQ fields per some individual requests, as well as honorifics. So those would include Mr. and Mrs. Doctor. And as you can see, we've got the current gender identity and sexual orientation as optional questions that you can include in the demographics section. We also now support SBA Form 1050. So if you were to create that for a package, this is what it would look like as a generated form in Spark. We now allow you to also notify multiple people and team members for notifications, which has been a pretty big ask from many of you all. So if you, say for instance, want to let a loan officer know that a disbursement's been submitted, you can do so. And this is a back-end configuration change that, again, you can ask your Spark administrator or Spark support to help you implement. We now have a knowledge base as well, which is very exciting because this is going to be some self-service that you all can use that will have articles and videos that you can use as a point of reference for your Spark platform. So as you can see kind of on the right-hand side of the screen, that's what the knowledge base will look like with the different collections of articles, and they've got individual articles on things such as documents, some of the underwriting functions, how to get started in Spark. So this is going to be a great way to help new users get introduced to the system, as well as educate existing users. We also have some administrative improvements as far as adding a search bar to the backend administrative configuration. So some of you all may not be familiar with this if you don't have Spark administration privileges, but if you do, this will be a big help to kind of roll through and search for different keywords and phrases, and then you could help make your configuration a lot quicker and easier with these updates. So now we'll go through what's been changed on the platform since our last release in April. So we now have a business financial improvement where the pro forma will automatically synchronize the use of funds and additional financing and that owner's equity that you would add in to your sources and uses page. So that's going to be a really convenient feature. We also have improved guarantor analysis synchronization. So we can now have that information on the personal debt schedule flow into the personal cash flow. Now, this does exclude the personal financial statement, but that was done intentionally. You can now have a notification when you revert stages. And we have updated Spark to support the ETRAN 5.8. So now all those fractional ownership percentages are supported whenever you send over, let's say, a 49.5% owner. Spark supports entering that into the system and sending it over to ETRAN. And we now also support a true SBR LIBOR rate with the LIBOR plus 3%. We additionally allow you to reset the days in stage if you are restoring a package that was withdrawn or declined. So rather than, keeping a running total, you can then restore the package and reset those days instead of starting from, 10 days plus. We've also made some good fixes this go around. So some of those key fixes are the intermittent issues that we had when you were deleting a business, individual, or collateral. It would leave behind some stray documentation that we've now cleaned up. So if you do delete a business or individual, you'll no longer have some document placeholders with a document that's no longer in existence because the business and individual is gone. You can also, we've fixed the edit link that was on the credit memo. When you tried to link back to the debt schedule, you would see an error pop up, so that's no longer there. We also have made an improvement to the SBA underwriting authority on copy packages. Now this is very specific to say if you have an SBA Express loan and you changed it or to a conventional loan, then Spark wasn't updating the underwriting authority to submit the loan package to the SBA. So what was happening is it was causing an ETRAN error, and so we've now resolved that. So where if you, change the package from Express to SBA 7A PLP, you won't have that underwriting authority issue that was popping up previously. We've also made some improvements handling the common DocuSign errors. So these could be an attempt to initiate an envelope in DocuSign when the document had been deleted and was no longer a PDF. Or let's say that you were trying to view the audit history of an envelope that you didn't send or didn't have permission to view. You might have seen an error pop up. We've now resolved that to where you will no longer see that error appear in Spark. And now I will flip it over to Mr. Mao, and he will walk through the demonstration portion of this presentation.
All right, thanks, Emily. I just need to figure out how to share my screen. You may need to give me control.
I think so. Let me get this figured out.
Perfect. All right, confirmation, Emily. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay, excellent. All right, so we're going to be going through a number of demos to highlight some of those changes to the Spark platform that Emily just talked through. The first one that we're going to highlight is two-step verification. So as she mentioned, two-step verification will be optional by default. If your organization is interested in turning that on for all users, so basically that means every user who signs into Spark will need to set up two-factor authentication. The next time they attempt to log in, that is possible. So I'll walk through it as if I was turning it on for an individual Spark account, and that will be my Spark account. So to turn on two-factor authentication or two-step authentication, I'm going to go into my profile and settings, and down below, you'll see a new two-step verification widget. Gives you a brief description of what this will do. Again, it kind of adds that additional layer of security by requiring you to enter a one-time passcode that will either be emailed to your primary email account or sent as a text message to your mobile device. So if I'm going to go ahead and turn on two-step verification, simply click on that button. We'll ask you a question. Do you want to enable it? If yes, click yes. You can choose text or email. If you choose email, it's going to be an email token delivered to your primary email address, your business or your work email. If you choose text, we'll give you the opportunity to enter in a mobile phone number. In this case, I already have. And then you're going to go ahead and click Verify Phone Number. Now what this is going to do is going to send a text message to your phone number. And my text message, it'll look something like this. So you'll get a little notification. It's going to give you an authentication token. You'll take that authentication token and you'll simply enter it in to this box. And then you'll click on Enable Two-Step Verification. That will then turn it on. All right, once it's turned on, you do have the ability to turn it off. If I wanted to turn it off, I'd simply click on the turn off. A verification code will be sent again to your mobile device to turn it off. And then we go ahead and turn it off. So it's relatively easy. I'm going to go turn it on again so you can see what the experience is when I log in the next time. So now I'm just waiting for my token. All right, it's turned on. So now I'm going to go ahead and log off. All right, so I'll just sign out of Spark, back to my login screen. If I go ahead and click the sign in button, this is what's going to happen. It's going to send a token to your mobile device or your email address. You'll simply take that token, enter it into the box, and you'll notice that we have a question here. So if you want to disable sending it from the current computer that you're working on, you simply check that box. If you're a Spark administrator or you're involved with IT security at your organization, you can turn this checkbox off and require all users logging into Spark to always have to enter in that two-step verification code. Since this is my own work laptop, I'm okay with turning this off. So I'm going to say don't ask for codes again. I'll check that box. If you never received your code, you can have it resend the code, and you can have it resend it to either your mobile device or your email. But let's go ahead and verify that code I entered. And as you can see, I'm now logged into Spark. All right, let's jump into some of the Spark administration changes. So to get to Spark administration, number one, you need to be given access. To get access, you simply click on your username and you'll click into system configuration. And again, what I really want to highlight here is we've reorganized how you access the various administration screens in Spark. Your homepage will or your administration homepage will have a listing of what you have access to, because everything within Spark is security trimmed. We call it security trimmed. When we look at your user account, we figure out what you have access to do. As you can see, I have access to a number of things. Each of these sections provides a description of what you can do, and then you can click into any of these areas to go ahead and manage that specific piece within Spark. A couple other things that we've added. We have a search functionality as well. So if I wanted to search for SBA, it's going to show me I have a number of products with SBA in the title that I could jump in and quickly manage. I could also jump into a SBA state-specific conditions management screen. If I wanted to do something to manage tasks, I'll go ahead and type tasks, and that'll take you quickly into the task types that have been defined within Spark. So let's go ahead and click into that right now. Every administration screen now has a breadcrumb going across the top. So if you're not familiar with breadcrumb, a breadcrumb is an attempt to show you where you are within a navigation structure. So I can see within task types, I can navigate up to data management by simply clicking that link, and it's now going to show me all of the things I have access to that Spark considers just core data management. Let's say I wanted to manage roles within Spark. I'm going to go ahead and search for role. And I'm interested in security roles because those are different than team roles. Let's go ahead and jump into our security users and roles page. Because since we're talking about administration, I want to highlight a change that we made on the role side. So if you ever manage roles within your organization or manage the permissions that a role has, you'll be happy to hear that we've made some improvements over how to find the permissions that have been associated to a role. So right now I'm looking at a credit officer role within my instance of Spark, and we've organized our permissions differently. This used to be organized by Spark's concept of a master stage. So it used to show permissions related to intake, underwriting, packaging, closing, and funding. We've now made it a little bit more feature-based, so now you can more easily determine, well, if I wanted to grant this role permissions that are related to SBA, so can this role submit to ETRAN? Can they modify the processing method? Could they override the guarantee fee, etc.? So I can simply turn on all of those permissions, just like we did before, but again, it's a little bit easier to see what roles are available and what roles are turned on. I'll go ahead and save those changes. I can now see that the SBA group of permissions, all 4 of 4 permissions have been enabled. So again, we're looking for ways to improve the administration experience. And again, I have that breadcrumb across the top, so I can click back into users and roles, go up to security, or jump back up to my home page. So let's say I want to make some changes to a specific SBA product, and we'll use SBA 7A as an example. We've made improvements into the user experience of managing a product. So you'll notice we have a new product summary that gives you some high-level information about the product within Spark. It shows you what stage configuration it's using and the stages involved, the team configuration, as well as what navigation settings exist. If I wanted to manage the various options within my SBA 7A product, you'll notice that over here on the left-hand side, I have access to change any document views. I can change the available document placeholders. We've surfaced document organization, so this is easier to access. So if I wanted to change how those placeholders are organized into my various views, I can simply click on document organization, choose my view, and now it's going to show me how the documents are organized within my 10 tab. So hopefully, as you can see, we've made a fairly big investment into making Spark administration easier for you. So let's go ahead and move into the next feature that I want to highlight on this release call, and that is related to conditions and covenants. I'm going to start with administration of conditions and covenants because we have made some improvements over how you can define conditions and covenants within your Spark environment. So we're going to first jump into the library, and as you can see, I have one condition of closing defined. But what I want to do is I want to add a couple additional conditions to show you the power that we've added. The first condition is going to be related to business acquisitions. So to create my condition, I simply click Add Item, and you'll see that we now have the concept of a creation strategy. Okay, so Emily talked about we've now made conditions and covenants intelligent in that we will look at package characteristics to determine when a condition should apply. So if I'm going to add a strategy related to a business acquisition, I'm going to go ahead and find my business acquisition strategy. I'm going to have this strategy get auto-created when Spark sees that the business rule is met. And then my strategy, as you can see here, or sorry, my condition has text with what we're calling tokens. So based on the business acquisition strategy, I can add a name token, a lender name token, and a lender short name token. So in this case, I'm going to say the lender name requires an executed agreement of sale with terms acceptable to the lender short name in its sole discretion, etc. Now, I don't have the ability to pull in an amount, but I want to highlight the fact that the user who's going to be consuming this condition on their package will have to enter in an amount. I'm going to go ahead and enable this condition. I'm going to go ahead and click Create. And now I can associate this condition to products. So prior to this release, conditions and covenants were global. We now have the ability to specifically turn on conditions and covenants for specific products. So if you originate both SBA loans and conventional loans and you want your conditions to vary by product, you can now do that in Spark. So we're going to go ahead and add products, and I'm just going to associate this to all of the products I have and go ahead and click Save. And we'll go ahead and save and close that. So we've just added a condition. I want to add a couple more conditions, so I'll do this a little bit quicker. We're going to add a condition related to collateral. So I'm sure many of you have collateral conditions related to when you're taking collateral on a specific property. So we'll just look for any real estate. We're going to auto-create this one as well. And in this case, I want to create a condition that talks about getting an appraisal. I'm going to keep it enabled. We'll go ahead and click Create. We'll associate it to all of the products and save our changes. And let's just go ahead and create one more condition. This will be for all principals that we defined. So I'm going to say any principal. We're going to auto create this one. And it's really just stating that the lender is going to obtain a background check on the principal's name. So you'll notice again, these tokens are based on the strategy that you select. So if it's related to people, you'll be able to choose a name, the spouse's name, and we'll always give you access to the lender name and the lender short name. Let's go ahead and turn this one on. And we're going to go ahead and add it to just a couple of products, and we'll click save. All right, so that's all about management of your conditions and covenants within Spark. Now I'm going to jump over to the concept of condition and covenant types. Prior to this release, you had a fixed set of types that you could work with, and you couldn't turn any of them off. Well, now we're giving you the ability to turn them off if you want, as well as change the name. So if you don't like our conditions of closing, funding, covenants, etc., you could now go ahead and edit. I guess I was wrong, you can't change the name, but I can now disable those. So if I didn't want to see any conditions of closing anymore, I could disable that one. I'm going to go ahead and keep it on. I just want to highlight the fact that you can now turn the conditions off that you're not going to use. All right, so it's probably about enough administration for our demos today. Let's actually jump into a loan package and see how those conditions and covenants are used. So the loan package we're going to use in our demos is called Murphy's Lawn and Garden. I can see it's in the underwriting stage. I'm going to go ahead and click into it. And we're going to go down into underwriting and view the conditions and covenants that currently exist. So since the only condition that existed prior to me making those changes in administration was the kind of this default condition that gets entered. If I want to quickly add any available condition, we now have a button here that'll say view available conditions of closing, and it's going to show you conditions that currently apply to this loan package. I've got a principal named Sally Murphy, so you can see that it's taken that condition that I added about a background check, and it's saying that this one more than likely applies to your loan package. Now, I'm not going to add this manually. I'm going to have Spark do it behind the scenes. But what Spark does is it looks for changes to the loan package. And since I haven't made any changes to this loan package yet, Spark hasn't ran through those business rules to add those conditions. So let's go ahead and start making some changes to my loan package. And the first thing I'm going to do is in my sources and uses, I'm going to go ahead and add a business acquisition. It's going to be an asset purchase, and it's going to be for $150,000. And I'm going to allocate all of that $150,000 to the SBA source of funds, and we'll go ahead and click Save Changes. Now I also want to add some collateral, so we're going to go ahead and click into my collateral. Let's go ahead and add some real estate. This will be commercial real estate. We'll be in first position. It's going to be for $350,000. We'll just use the assessed value for now. And I'm going to add an address because I want to highlight the fact that an address is a token that gets used in all of our collateral strategies. All right, let's go ahead and save that piece of collateral. And now let's go and look at the conditions and covenants that Spark believes are required for this loan package. So you already saw this default strategy show up, or this default condition show up. I now have my background check for Sally. I now have my Acme Lending requires an executed agreement of sale. So again, all those tokens have been replaced. I would just have to enter in the amount here. And we also have the fact those required, we've automatically put the address into that condition as well as the amount of that piece of collateral. So that's hopefully showing you the power that we have now as it relates to conditions. But I want to kind of take this a step further because one of the things that we can do is, let's say I wanted to make a verbiage change somewhere in here. So instead of saying a satisfactory background check, we're going to say an awesome background check. I'm going to go ahead and save the changes of that. So again, I can make my one-off changes to my conditions. It doesn't change the condition in the Spark backend. Actually say an awesome background check, but now I'm going to go ahead and change my principal's name from Sally to something else. So let's go into our individuals. We're going to go ahead and edit Sally, and this is now Jane Murphy. We're going to go ahead and save and close. Let's go back into our conditions, and you'll notice that it's smart enough to know that a name changed within that condition, so that name has now been updated. So if you've ever had to deal with a name change, maybe of a business that was reflected in a number of conditions, and you had to go and search through commitment letters or letters of interest or your credit memos, now making that change in one spot will replicate throughout the system. All right, a couple additional things I want to say about conditions of closing before I move on to, or sorry, conditions and covenants before I move on to the next topic, is to take advantage of this automated conditions and covenants capability. It's only going to apply to new packages. We wanted to do our best to not disrupt existing loan packages that are currently going through your pipeline with the new capabilities. So we built in some additional intelligence to see when it's a new loan package versus an existing loan package. Because again, we know that many of you are already using our conditions and covenants, and we don't want our changes to impact what you're already doing today. So again, this is more of a go forward change on new loan packages that get entered into Spark after Saturday's release. All right, so let's move from conditions and covenants and highlight some of the changes that we have to our pro forma balance sheet. So we've had a lot of feedback from customers that they want more synchronization between information that's entered in Spark into our financial analysis capabilities. One of the changes that we've introduced in this release is taking the information that's entered into our sources and uses table and having that automatically flow into a pro forma balance sheet. So if you just look at the way I have my allocation set up and the fact that I have an SBA loan and I have some owner's equity, I've got a business acquisition, I'm purchasing equipment, I've got closing costs and a guarantee fee. All right, so that's kind of my basic loan right now, my loan structure. Let's go ahead into the financial analysis area and create a new financial analysis for Murphy's Lawn and Garden. And I'm just going to leave everything on, but I'm not going to have a net worth reconciliation or my RMA comparisons. I'll leave all the default periods. We'll go ahead and click create. And again, I'm only interested in my pro forma, so I'm going to skip over to the pro forma balance sheet. And we're going to create a pro forma for year one. And I want to highlight that this pro forma now is balanced. So I've got my 265 in total assets, and then my total liabilities and equity is 265 as well. And the reason why that's been balanced is because we will now synchronize use of proceeds to pro forma balance sheet sub-accounts. So again, when I talk about sub-accounts in our financial analysis, I'm talking about these individual line items that show up. So assets purchased is showing me it's 150,000, and that's that business acquisition. The 95,000 is all in my machinery and equipment. These are now read-only, showing that they're being synchronized with the sources and uses in Spark. We'll still give you the ability to override those if needed. So if I want to make a change to that, and I didn't want it to be 95, I could go ahead and do that. So we'll still allow you to override if you want to override. If you want to revert back, you just use that revert back icon. If we scroll down, I can see my closing costs have been recorded. My guarantee fee has been recorded. I've got the current portion of my current loan, and I've got the long-term portion of my current loan as well. If you had additional financing as a source of funds in your sources and uses, that would also flow into the pro forma balance sheet. And then finally, I've got my owner's equity showing up within paid in capital. All right, so one note on these new capabilities is we've created some new sub-accounts that you will want to add to your pro forma balance sheet templates to take advantage of the synchronization. Okay, an example of the sub-account we added is the assets purchase sub-account. So if you want the assets purchased to automatically flow into your pro forma balance sheet, reach out to support@lendwithspark.com and we'll assist with getting your balance sheets template set up properly. All right. The next synchronization I want to highlight is related to the synchronization between personal debt schedule and personal cash flow. And so this all takes place within our guarantor analysis feature. We'll go ahead and update the analysis for Jane Murphy. And first, we're just going to look at the debt schedule. So I can see that Jane's got credit card debt, mortgage, and an auto loan with a total annual payment of $27,487 and some odd cents. If I click over to the cash flow tab, I can see that we've entered some wages for Jane, some capital gains, to arrive at total available cash flow of 78. But then down below, there's a number of sub-accounts here that have a little hint icon by it. If you click on that hint, it's going to tell you that this sub-account is getting calculated from the personal debt schedule. And I can see that that mortgage payment that was documented in the debt schedule is now flowing over to my to the sub-account. Same with the auto loans and the credit card debt. So we've created a number of new sub-accounts. Some of these existed already, but there are some new ones that now map to the personal debt types that get documented in a personal debt schedule. So again, as with our pro forma balance sheet, if you want to take advantage of these new capabilities, you'll want to have your Spark administrator or reach out to support to set up your templates so that your debt schedules synchronize with your cash flow. All right, so the final demo I want to walk through is the Spark knowledge base. Now, obviously, since we're constantly making changes, I shouldn't say constantly, but about every 8 weeks, we do new releases to the Spark platform. Our knowledge base will be updated periodically. So to access the knowledge base, you'll go to the help navigation. You'll simply click on knowledge base, and it's going to take you to the knowledge base homepage. Now, there's a couple of ways to navigate the knowledge base. Number one, we have a navigation menu on the left-hand side. If you just want to navigate through the different collections that exist. So you see we have a getting started collection, a loan packages collection, SBA loans, etc. To navigate into a specific category, you can simply either click on the category or use the navigation, and it'll list out all of the articles. Now it knows that I'm a Spark administrator, and we highlight the fact that if an article is published or it's in draft, you'll see that all these are published. You wouldn't see that. We do have the concept of draft articles because we work on them, and we don't necessarily want to make them available to everyone until they've been reviewed and published. But to click into a specific article, you'd simply click on the link of the title. On the title, it's going to take you to your knowledge base article. There's typically a preview at the top. For some of our knowledge base articles, we have videos that you can watch. And then we typically have some guides and information about the specific article below the video. Down below, you'll see that we have the concept of related articles. So if you want to read anything that's related to your Spark user account or forgetting your password, you can click on any of these articles to navigate to those other articles. Up on the top, we have an ability to print articles. You can email articles if you think you found one that one of your coworkers would be interested in. You can easily email that to them. And then we also have a search function. So again, on the top, if I want to get back home, I can use my breadcrumb to jump to the home page of my knowledge base. For information requests, so I go ahead and type in information request, perform my search, and I can see an article about activating information requests, our ad hoc document information requests, etc. So go ahead and click on that, and there's my knowledge base article. So that brings me to the end of the demos today. I'm going to stay on the line and see if there's any questions that anyone has. All right, well, I'm waiting for any questions to come in. Again, just a reminder, this release will be going out this Saturday starting at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. And if you have any additional questions between now and then or next week, again, as always, reach out to support@lendwithspark.com, and we'll be here to assist. All right, Emily, I don't see any questions. I don't know if you see any questions on your end, but I think
No, I don't see any questions on my end either.
All right, excellent. We appreciate everyone's time today.